Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Indian Chamber of Commerce. Just for everyone's benefit, I'll just introduce the Indian Chamber of Commerce to everyone. ICC is a premier body of business and industry in India, set up in 1925 by a group of pioneering industrialists. The chamber has been functioning efficiently and building meaningful synergies among the industry and government by addressing strategic issues and of national significance. It has been instrumental in facilitating better commerce within the country. I welcome everyone to this webinar on COVID-19, a crisis or an opportunity for India to become the hub for manufacturing and exports. Let me introduce the panelists for today. We'll be joined by Mr. Rajan Raje, CEO of Nicom Solutions. He has started his own business in 1996. Earlier, he was with Plastic Peel Chemicals Private Limited, Class Equipments, and Willett International. He was recently invited to be a member of CEGET, a Union Global Compact Network of India supported organization. Next in our panel will be Mr. Nitin Poddar. He's partner J. Sagar Associates. Mr. Poddar specializes in public and private mergers and acquisitions, business restructuring, asset and share purchase, trans-border alliances and joint ventures, private equity, and general corporate advisory. He has vast experience with transactions related to foreign direct investments, exchange control, and employment laws. Next, we'll have Mr. Pawan Mindal. Mr. Bindal is a management professional with over 18 years of experience spanning diverse functions such as strategy, business development, operations, and banking. He has actively espoused the cause of MSME development across the country, appearing as a speaker and panelist in over 100 events and appearing on platforms such as BBC, Economist, ET Now, The Mint, Money Control, and Gulf News. He's worked with Dun & Bradstreet for over 12 years. We'll have Mr. Vinayak Hazare joining us next. He's director with Interjet South Asia Private Limited with over 37 years of experience, which includes 10 years in the manufacturing sector and 27 years of experience as an investment banker with companies. In 2004, he started his own boutique investment banking outfit and partnered with Interjet Worldwide to head Interjet South Asia from India. He has over the years handled large deals of acquisition and divestment of companies within India and overseas. Lastly, we'll be joined by Mr. Vinod Chopra, Managing Director, Sai Industrial Alliances Private Limited. So Dr. Chopra is a gold medalist in Sustainable Development Goals from CIAC in alliance with United Nations. He is a member of various committee, Human Rights, Maharashtra State Child Rights Foundation, NGO in Bangalore, and National Executive Council member of FICCI MSME. He is the research, manufacturing, and exports of renewable energy products and design, and is the chairman and managing director of his company, Sai Industrial Alliances Private Limited. Without much delay, I would like to ask Mr. Rajan Raje, our chairman for MSME committee in ICC, Western region, to take it forward.
Thank you, Ratish. Welcome, everybody. As we all know, the impact of the worldwide lockdown due to COVID-19 has impacted the Indian economy very badly. As per the recent analysis, the Indian economy will have lost approximately 12 lakh crores by 3rd May, that is 2 days from now. And this loss will substantially increase if the lockdown continues further. And this impact will be much more to bear, mainly for the MSME sector, because they have very little support in these situations. The latest census shows that the MSME comprises of 42 million enterprises which are own account enterprises, that is self-employed. So there are no employments generated except the person. Then micro enterprises who employ less than 10 workers come next. They are also vast in number. The medium enterprises who employ 20 to 50 workmen are very few in number. These and large enterprises drive the sustenance and the growth of the economy, mainly for the MSME segment, because they support the micro industry, they support the self-employed people. And if we are really going to talk about whether the COVID-19 is a problem or can that be converted into an opportunity, then what we have to look is at this sector, which is, or this segment, which is a medium segment, because they are going to be the drivers for the entire MSME segment. We all keep complaining that there is hardly any support to the MSME sector from the government. There is hardly any support to the MSME segment from the banks. But we all conveniently forget that you look at the bank, because ultimately bank is not a social activity. Every bank is into a business. They are into the business of making money on their own working capital, which is money. If that money is not utilized properly, that money is not utilized to make more money, they can't really be in the business. So rather than blaming the banks entirely, what we all as a MSME segment have to look at it, that yes, if the bank has to look at me with respect, then what I have to do is I have to earn that respect by way of being professional, by way of being competitive, and by way of being accountable. So today's session primarily is going to be that. I mean, yes, all the four panelists are going to talk about the opportunities, and you will see that there are plenty of them. But to grab those opportunities, all of us have to look at ourselves and be competitive, be professional. As I said, the medium segment is also important because they are capable of adopting new technologies, competitive manufacturing practices, so to become alternative manufacturing hub to China. If we as a country succeed in doing this, if we grab these opportunities, then we can really take the benefit of the COVID impacted situation worldwide. And in that process, we will not only change our future, but we will change the future of our country. Today, as I said, we have 4 expert panelists who will share their expert views on what opportunities this pandemic has opened for MSME sector, how India can become the future manufacturing hub, and how we all should try and grab these opportunities. All 4 of these experts are experts in different segments of the business, like merger and acquisition, foreign collaboration, joint venture, FDI, private equity, fintech platform, investment banking, so on and so forth. So all these experts will open up various growth opportunities to all of you, which will hopefully change the mindset of all of us and help us to be competitive. Thank you very much. And let me hand you over to Ratish so that one by one he will take the panelists on the board. Ratish? Ratish, you are on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Raja. So going forward, we'll have our first session with Mr. Nitin Podar on the current scenario, the impact of COVID-19 on the MSME sector. Over to you, Mr. Podar.
Good morning, Mr. Rajay, Ratish, and thanks all the panel members. And I must thank all the participants, attendees who are who are logged on to this seminar. Uh, uh, Mr. Rajay has given a fantastic opening remark, and uh, it really we all have worked since a couple of days to make this event happen. We wanted to do a physical webinar, a seminar some time back, but because of this pandemic, we could not do. So we are here now with the webinar, and I'm glad at least we could put in place something for you all. Now, if you see the numbers given by Mr. Rajay was that 42 around 4.5 crore or something are SME, MSME, and if you see the picture that I have depicted is of a honeybee. So all SME, MSMEs to my mind are like small bees, but put together, everything put together is really the honey that we create for the country. The largest employment that is generated in this country is because of the SME and MSMEs. I think the MSME and the SME segment is really the backbone of the country, the backbone of the Indian economy, and this needs to be protected, this needs to be nurtured, and this needs to be really taken care of. Uh, Now, friends, we are the entire world. I will not go into the numbers. I just wanted to have a free and frank chat on some 6-7 slides. We are on the entire world is in a lockdown situation. We have no idea, friends, as to which phase are we currently. Are we in the first phase, second phase, third phase? We don't know. We don't know how long will it continue. We have no data as on today as to what is the economic loss, what is the opportunity loss, and what is the financial or other losses that are going to come, because we just really don't know the stage at which we are now. And mind you, friends, this is not just for you and me or in India. This is across the globe. So we are really sitting on an unprecedented situation. It's really global. It's truly global issue, and everyone is going to be get impacted, irrespective of our size, irrespective of our segment, irrespective of our sector which we are working, irrespective of our nationality what we are working. So it's really truly a global, unprecedented situation. Nobody would have faced earlier in life, and I hope that henceforth going forward we won't be able to see this again. Now, we all are trying to put our thoughts together. Having said this, I must also say, and we must start with this premise that there is no one magical wand which will unturn the whole situation. There is no one fit all formula which can really improvise the situation immediately as soon as the lockdown is over. Even if we have a medical solution tomorrow, I don't know whether we will have a complete financial solution for the world, whether we will have a political solution for the world. We are really, if I may say so, the entire world is getting rebooted. Now, when the exact point of rebooting will happen, we don't know, but we have started, currently we have started shutting down. So once the complete shutdown is over and once we have some solution, I guess the rebooting will start. Now this phase between the shutdown and the rebooting, I think is very critical, is very important. And if we really act smart, if we really keep our temperament cool, and if we hold on to our basics, I think we will be able to really find some outstanding solution. And to my mind, whilst this sounds very unprecedented, I must also say that this is really, really an unprecedented, equally an unprecedented opportunity. For something to happen exponentially, we really had to have this kind of situation, I would say. The first big advantage, if you ask me, uh, the first big positive that I see of this COVID-19 is that you must have read the news about the entire world. The environment is getting healed. Now, trust me, friends, you can talk to any environmentalist and he will tell you that no amount of investment would have repaired the environment. The kind of healing is happening to the ozone layer, the kind of healing is happening, the kind of rejuvenation is happening with our oceans, with our rivers, with our natural resources. This was just not possible. No amount of technology and no amount of investment would have really improved this. Now, if you see across India, the air pollution, air quality of air has improved. So I guess, whilst yes, we all are sad that economic activity has come to grinding halt. But having said this, I must also say that equally on the environment front, the complete rebooting is happening. Now, I would like to think, and I would like you will all agree with me that we all human beings are also part of environment. So all of us sitting at home and trying to connect knowledge, trying to connect network, our reach, our ideas, our thoughts. Is it not also rebooting of human capital? I think that's very critical and very important. And we must really look at this kind of rebooting on a very, very positive note. Now, friends, what's the situation? Having given this preamble, I would like to mention is what is the current situation? Current situation is there is a loss of business. There is a liquidity crisis. There is a hugely disruption of supply chain. We all have labor issues, and we will have labor issues for some time. We all, trust me, virtually everyone would have breached their contractual obligations, whether it is investment agreement, foreign collaboration, vendor supplier agreement, your simple rental agreements for your offices, your employment contracts. So I would really would like to see a situation where a company comes and tells me that, look, these are the contracts which we have not violated, or there is no violation. There would have been violations of regulations or licenses in many cases. There's an immediate need for capex for upgrading technology. Now these are absolutely burning issues, and even if I have put them in order of in the order of sequence, but these are all goes hand in hand, and these are all parallel. This will run parallel. We'll have to find solution. We'll have to see what best we can do in the given situation. But this is the fact of life. This is a factual matrix of all companies. Again, I repeat, all companies, all sectors, irrespective of size and irrespective of the country. This is not the case only in India. This is the case across Europe, US, across Australia, Japan, and everywhere. Now, what could happen immediately? As I mentioned to you that on one hand, the environment has improved. So immediately in the next couple of weeks or whatever time the government announces, and when we see some improvement in the patients in the medical field, we would probably the first industry which will get kicked off will be consumer goods and services. They may see immediate action because people want normal consumer goods. So these activities will immediately start, I guess. Consumer goods and services. Industrial production may take some time because only when we are out of our day-to-day requirements, we'll then go to industrial production. Now, couple of points immediately. What can we do? As I said, we don't have any magical wand to improve the situation, but immediately what we can do. And yesterday I was hearing our legendary Dr. Narayan Murthy, the ex-chairman of Infosys, and he also emphasized on getting a real-time data. Friends, I would really earnestly request all of you that all that we need immediately is the real-time data of our company. We need information from the company. I don't think so. We must first get out of this situation where when we talk, we do a lot of we talk a lot of hearsay facts. Oh, I heard this, someone saying this. I heard someone saying this, and I read somewhere like this. No, I think the time has come where we must just put our heads down and get first real-time information. I have seen, friends, and I can vouch for this. Unfortunately, because of time, I can't give an example, but I'll tell you last 35, 40 days what I have seen. When we advise clients and when I told the client, please get data, please get actual information. The actual information was something different, completely different. So I would say first get to the data, change your MIS if required. The MIS which we normally prepare, if we want to modify that MIS, get every day real-time data on a virtually daily basis, and you may have to tweak. You may have the day-to-day, the daily basis information will give you that agility to really move forward and take modified solutions.
Mr. Poddar,
yeah,
can you go a little bit faster?
Yeah, sure. Second is communicate. We need to communicate with our stakeholders, communicate with all the stakeholders, communicate with the right person. Third point is immediately set up a task force with the internal people and also some external people. You need to have a task force, because you may not, if you are a board managed company, the board may not be able to meet at every regular frequent intervals. You may have difficulties in physical meetings. So my request will be, first set up a task force of external, internal people, and empower them for taking decisions. The next immediate action is, you will have to first seize the opportunity of collaborations. Remove the word competitor from your dictionary. Everyone, we need to collaborate, whether it and explore the possibilities of collaborations with your competitors and customers. And why I'm emphasizing this, because foreign collaborations are coming. You need to deploy cash, protect cash as objective as possible, protect your customers, and deploy technology to the fullest. So these are the immediate actions which I would request. Let me go to the immediate. The next side is, India is poised to become a next favorite destination for foreign investment. I'm seeing this happening, friends. If you read in the newspapers globally also, everyone virtually wants to see that India emerging as the next manufacturing hub, and that's where there is an opportunity for MSME and SMEs. You need to a couple of things. First of all, invest your current time in improvising your products and making it a world-class product. You can't be satisfied with what you are doing right now. You have to really benchmark your quality production with vis-a-vis the world-class productions. Upgrade your technology, whatever is required. Get market intelligence. It is possible to get market intelligence on all your products. The forward integration, the backward integration, and what all can you add to your bouquet of products. I think India is, I can see very clearly, during the 90s, I saw the first wave of foreign investment in India, and I am seeing now the second wave of foreign investment. This is going to stay for some time. This is serious now. Everyone wants to have foreign collaborations, and why not? Why should you not be their preferred partner? If India is going to be the preferred destination for foreign investment, why should you not be the preferred partner? Be open, be proactive. But for that, you will have to first invest into your production, invest into your quality, invest into your research and development. Those are the first requirement. Now, don't hesitate to talk to the foreigners. No difficulty. You can always go back to them and talk to them. Now, the quickest route for entering a foreign collaboration, I'm sure Vinayak Hazare and others are going to talk about it. But the quickest way to enter a foreign collaboration is, start a dialogue, understand their requirement, understand your requirement, and at least prepare a financial, commercially viable model. Even if you are able to make that, I think that's good enough. But you will be able, the foreigners will come to you only and only on two things. One is, whether your products are really quality products, whether you have the capability of delivering quality products, and secondly, your reputation and your integrity. That's extremely important. So even if you also committed some mistakes or otherwise what has happened, please spend this time, invest in improvising your reputation in the market, or improvise your perception about yourself in the market. Friends, as I mentioned to you, two things. COVID can be fought only with two elements. One is your customers. You will have to hang on to your customers. We will have to hold on to our customers, and we'll have to enter into collaboration. This is lifetime opportunity. And I hope, and I'm very confident that our SME and MSME has always shown the fragility and the agility to adapt to the markets. And this time also they will not stay behind, and they will, I'm sure, come forward and enter into in the new era of success. Thank you very much, friends.
Thank you, Mr. Poddar. It was really very informative, and friends, as I said in my opening speech, that what is important is, yes, as Mr. Poddar said, we have to be proactive, we have to be quality conscious, we have to adapt ourselves to the new technology and new technology, both. And most importantly, our integrity has to be intact. Only when all these things come together, the world is going to look at you as a right partner or a right supplier. And that is where we all have to put in our efforts. Thank you very much, Mr. Poddar. Now, I'll invite Pawan Bindal to give his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rajay, and thank you to all the panelists, and most importantly, thank you to all the participants. It's a pleasure to see so many of us on this panel. I hope there are questions at the end, and we'll have an opportunity to answer some of the questions. But I believe we must compliment the chamber for organizing this, because I've done so many webinars where everybody is sort of talking about the issues and the problems. But I think the topic today is really very interesting, which is where how do we see this crisis as an opportunity? And I think that's the right mindset, an optimistic mindset to have. My own presentation is really going to be about how do we recover from the pandemic. So it's going to really talk about survival aspects, right? So you can only grow, you can only prosper, you can only achieve and scale new heights if you survive the pandemic, if you survive the crisis. So that is going to be my focus. I thank the chamber for giving me the opportunity. A quick word about what sort of I do apart from my previous experience. Currently, I have co-founded a company called TimePay, where we are helping small businesses with their cash flows and with collections and receivables management. Very, very pertinent in this crisis, and we are already seeing some of the issues that even Mr. Nitin Poddar referred to, like contractual obligations not being met, payments being delayed. So we are all seeing some elements of crisis, and hence it's important to look at how we are going to be able to tide over the crisis. I'm just now sharing my screen. Is it visible now? Hello?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Fantastic. So as I said, I'm going to focus a bit on the recovery side, which is sort of the more the immediate and the short term. And before I sort of jump into that, I just wanted to show a graphic. If you see, there are some sort of companies on the screen, right? These are all the companies, and there is a longer list, but these are all the companies: Disney, FedEx, Microsoft, GM, HP. These are all the companies that were actually started and founded during a crisis, during previous recessions, right? So even when the whole world is looking at cost cutting and the whole world is looking at survival, there were companies that were set up during recessions and have gone on to become iconic brands and big companies. I'm not saying that any of us, all of us will really become big companies, but what we need to do is have a layer of optimism in our thinking, because that's the only way we are really going to beat the crisis and emerge stronger. There is, of course, also TimePay on the screen, but that's just the logo there. We were not founded during a crisis. And the electricity just went out here, right? So, talk about crisis, but I'm going to continue. So I would liken the COVID crisis to a storm in the sea, right? So if you think of yourself as an owner of a business, you are pretty much the captain of a ship which is riding the sea, and you're going to various places and making money, right? But what do you see? What do you do when there is a storm? Can I give us idea on how can a business act? Am I audible? Because my internet may be a little. Am I audible? Okay, good. So so think of yourself as a captain of the ship, and you have to ride out the storm. But the first thing to note is that storm has not yet come. All that has happened in the corona crisis is the government has told businesses to literally take a 2-month holiday. All our factories are shut, all our trading is down, we are not raising any invoices, there is no supply happening. So right now the ships are all stationary, and the storm has not yet hit us. The storm has think of opening, and when we see a lot of chaos, the storm is, and use the time that we have right now when we are doing nothing to essentially prepare for the crisis, which is something that Mr. Poddar also mentioned. The first thing I think we need to sort of do, again taking an analogy of the ship, is to look at the compass, right? Look at the direction. Ask ourselves where we are going and why, right? Let's say you've just started a new business and the whole world is around you because demand. Maybe it's a good time to ask, do you really want to be in that business? Do you want to change your business line, right? There are companies like Airbnb was actually set up to do something else, but they faced a crisis, so they shifted to a digital method, right? So if there is a good time to rethink what you are doing, why you are doing, and want to change your business model, this may be a good time. It may not be an option for everybody. It may not be necessary for everybody, but this is a good time to think of where you are going, why you are going, and change the direction. The second thing, very important, again, something that Mr. Poddar mentioned in terms of payments and flows and problems, is that you need to check for the fuel, right? What's going to happen is that once the crisis, once the lockdown opens, right, you'll have some production, you'll have some order, you'll have to make some fulfillments, you still have to pay the salaries, you'll have to pay the rent, right? You don't know whether the cash flows that you had 3 months back or 6 months back as your monthly cash flows are also going to be your cash flows in the next 6 to 12 months. Things are not going to be the same. So essentially, you need to check what resources you have. What is your financial position? We are already seeing that India was not in a good financial position even before the crisis began, right? We have seen now, for example, Franklin Templeton saying that they are not going to pay the 20,000 odd crores to their unit holders because they don't have the money. We've seen what has happened with the Yes Bank. So the financial sector is already weak. You cannot assume that you will get the money from your customers. So you need to really check what kind of resources you will have. If things go bad, assume the worst for the next 6 months, 12 months, and make sure you have contingencies. And if you don't have enough resources, then you need to see whether you need to move at the same direction, in the same speed, or you need to go for some contingency funding. You need to make some alternative arrangements. And I will come back to that. At TimePay, we are already seeing and anticipating that if you were getting paid in, let's say, 40 days, you should add another 2 months to that cycle. You know, companies as large as Tata Steel have gone ahead and said they're not going to pay their vendors on time, right? So expect the worst and hope for the best. Third part is that you have to remember that you're captain of the crew, right? And when your crew is really your team could be your workers in your factory, it could be your office staff, it could be your sales and admin people work for you. Now, Putarji also sort of referred to it. There's already a government directive saying you must pay your salaries to your workers. I think it's also a moral obligation to pay our workers, but we all also know that there could be circumstances in which we may not be able to support the headcount that we have today, right? So all of us are wondering, should I continue to pay those people? Should I fire some workers? What should I do? We have recently seen even a company as big as Reliance has said there will be pay cuts, 30%, 50%, 15% for various kinds of people. So the most important thing is that make your calculations, understand the resources, the human resources that are important to you, and ensure that if you're not going to be able to support a certain section of people, you have that clarity and you communicate that very, very clearly to people within the boundaries of law and within the boundaries of humanity. What that will do is it will make sure that the people who will stick with you, people who will stay with you, will be doubly committed. And when the newer opportunities arise, as they will in 6 to 12 months time, you have a motivated team to take care of them. Again, a lot of this is very generic. I'm just putting it out because all of us have to think in these directions, and specific strategies will have to be adopted by each one of us depending on our business situations. This is sort of my favorite step, right? So like I said, the storm has not yet come. The storm is going to hit us in 3 months time, 6 months time. And right now is the lull time, right? It's a very dull and lull time. We are all getting bored at home. All of us are taking cooking lessons. So this is also a good time to repair, right? You can repair your ship. At TimePay, we already see, for example, that companies are coming to us and saying, can we adopt your digital technology for receivables? We are seeing a 3-fold increase in inquiries. Why? Because people have now time to actually evaluate various newer methods to do things, right? So it could be technology in accounting, it could be a technology in managing your customers. I know of companies around me. There is a specific company I know that has been doing a daily 2 to 3 hour training session for all its employees in production and in sales and marketing, right? Simply because they have the time to do so. In other periods, we would simply say time nahi hai. इतना बिजी रहते हैं कि ट्रेनिंग के लिए टाइम नहीं है. वी आर अ स्मॉल कंपनी, हम ट्रेनिंग नहीं कर सकते. ट्रेनिंग इज फॉर लार्ज कंपनीज. दिस इज एन एक्सीलेंट गोल्डन अपॉर्चुनिटी दैट यू प्रिपेयर योर पीपल फॉर द टाइम्स अहेड. And also it's a fantastic time to network with customers, right? Customers are not as big as they were. So make your phone calls, network with customers so that you are ready when things turn better. The next thing that you sort of do when a storm is up, so some of it is a repeat, but you cannot assume that the demand that you used to have 12 months back or even 3 months back will be the demand that you have. This will depend on sectors. Certain sectors will continue to see good demand. Food, FMCG, pharma will see good demand, but there will other sectors the demand will take time to emerge. Also remember that if you are in a production manufacturing kind of setup, your supplies may be disrupted, right? China imports may not be allowed for some time, or even from other countries, or government may have a lot of restrictions in place for movement of goods, movement of people. So you cannot assume that, right? So you need to prepare what kind of demand could I minimum see, What kind of supplies can I really make sure? And what happens if I have to operate at 50% capacity? Will I still be profitable? Will I still be able to generate the cash? Do that sort of scenario analysis. Could I add some product lines, right? A lot of people have shifted saying, okay, I have a textiles factory. Can I, instead of manufacturing clothes, can I manufacture PPs? Can I manufacture masks? That may not be for everybody, but there could be tangential similar ideas that you could look at to use the balance capacity that you have. You could also ask, what happens if my customers ask for a discount because they don't want to buy at the same price? Will your suppliers actually reduce their prices and give you raw materials at a cheaper price? So you need to do all of that analysis, start talking to your customers, start talking to your suppliers, so that when the storm actually hits you, you are ready with your options.
Pawan, 10 minutes.
Okay, just a couple of slides, so I should be able to wrap up in a couple of minutes.
That's all right. That's all right.
The next thing is that while your ship is in the eye of a storm, you're going to have a problem. You have to know that you are not alone, right? Like we are on this webinar, we are 100+ people. We are talking together and sharing ideas. A lot of ideas will come from your side. And Podarji again mentioned, right? Collaborate. But I would also say that, you know, as a business, we can always help each other, right? So there will be your suppliers that you can help by making them timely payments. If you have to, maybe ask for an early payment discount, but if you have cash, make the payment to your supplier and earn the goodwill. You will have commitments to keep, right? Customers will expect you to deliver on the products that they want. And if you're not able to deliver, you lose that credibility. So there are opportunities to earn credibility. There are opportunities to collaborate, right? So you could always work with industry associations like ICC and others to really network, find ideas in terms of what other people are doing and how do I deal with this crisis. You should never consider yourself alone. It's a good time to ask for help, and it's a very, very good time to give help to other people and build credibility for yourself. Lastly, use the lifeboats, right? So what do we mean by lifeboats, right? In a storm, when there is a big difficulty, use the lifeboats to save yourself and save your crew and save your passengers. So there are lifeboats, right? From a finance perspective where I come, right? So there are now schemes, right? So government has announced that all banks to give 10% emergency line for expenses, right? So talk to your bankers, see how that process is, and at least make sure that line is available to you and your documentation is ready for that additional line, right? There are NBFCs and fintechs that are able to provide contingency funding, maybe at higher rates of interest, but at least have a dialogue, figure out what that is so that you have it as a backup. There are platforms like Threads where you can actually invoice discounting and get money at 7-8%, right? Some of your customers may be on such platforms. So that can again be an emergency lifeline. And of course, the most importantly, there are friends and family, right? They are our permanent lifeboats, right? Make sure that you are in touch with them. Make sure that you know where they are. And if need be, you can go to them for help. Lastly, I'd like to end on a positive note. I think clear skies are going to be ahead because every storm is followed by clear skies. I must also say there is some destruction in the storm. There will be businesses that go out of business, but it also means that you'll have opportunities, right? There will be assets, there will be factories, there will be businesses available for cheap, right? If you can conserve some cash and have some capital, you can buy things at cheap, right? You can buy factories for cheap. You can get staff for sort of lower wages. Global supply chains will diversify into India. Sectors such as e-learning, digital will emerge, right? And there could be different things in your business that you will be best attuned to. But look out for those opportunities. Follow these principles, which I'm sure anyway all of you know about. But if you just follow them with a disciplined approach, you will not only survive the storm, but you will be ready for the opportunities. And I really think for all the Indian MSMEs and for Indian economy, very, very bright skies are ahead, right? So we should be able to look beyond the storm, prepare for the worst, and hope for the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan. I think it was very, very good on your part to brush up the basic requirements in the business to remind everybody that yes, we have to conserve our resources for the better times. We have to ensure that our human resources in right frame of mind. We have to also do a good networking with our suppliers as well as our buyers. We have to take care and take the advantage of the government scheme, NBFCs. So very nice. I mean, apart from creating the opportunities, or you are rather only chasing the opportunities, survival is what you have made it, the importance of the survival is what you have talked about. So thank you once again. And now I will ask Mr. Vinayak Hazare to come and give his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rajay. Thank you to, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you to my co-panelists, and thanks to the Indian Chamber of Commerce for organizing this webinar. Certainly my panelists have given really good inputs on how to look at the COVID crisis. And of course, I'm going to talk to you as to how to create an opportunity out of this crisis. Basically, to give you a background of what I do, my company, Intergest, we are present in more than 50 countries across the world. And we help companies globalize. So we help foreign companies set up business in India, or Indian companies to step outside in more than 50 countries where we have a presence. So right from setting up a company to handling, getting them people who can sell their products in a country, to creating distribution networks, everything is what we do. And of course, we also are into acquisitions, divestment of companies, and all that. So let me take it to the next slide. Okay, while we market India, what is it that we talk about? See, today we have a population of 1.36 billion people. It's a huge number. Of course, China is probably a little more than us. But the most important thing that we have to look at is today we have a workforce of almost 500 million people. It's a young population. And so a lot of people are there to run your factories, everything. The country is abundant with resources. Means when you look at so many countries across the world, and if you really map them onto India, if you map Europe onto India, we are a huge, huge place. So India is also a very large economy. We are poised to be the 5th largest economy. And if you look at purchasing power parity, and to give you a simple example means, this is what I use as an example to give people an idea. In India, your McDonald's burger can be available at 50 rupees, and the same thing you go and buy in Europe, you'd pay €2 for it. So that is the equivalent. This, if you look at a comparable thing as to what value you can get for an Indian product, and of course the much higher price that you pay. India is really growing and has huge requirements today: power, roads, railways, ports, transportation systems, everywhere. So there is a huge, huge opportunity for foreign companies to come here. India's position is we rank 3rd in the investment destination in the world. And for most people, when you look at it, India is a democracy, which people like. People like that, yes, we have a proper legal system in the country. So there are advantages of India over other countries. So far, India has created a good position in the world. Maybe we don't realize it on our day-to-day work. India is, of course, one of the #1 offshoring destination in the world, 55% market share of global services sourcing business. That's a huge, huge credibility which we have in the market. Then, of course, we are the largest manufacturer of two-wheelers, tractors, 2nd largest producer of steel and cement. I'm not going to read it out, but we have a great credibility when we go out in the market, when we have these kind of credentials. So really, when you look at it, today, COVID has really resulted you can say, a dark cloud over our country or everywhere across the world. But every dark cloud can also have a silver lining. So typically, if today factories are closed, offices, businesses, everything are closed, that is the dark cloud. But this gives us time to think and strategize as to what we can do to come out of this problem. Basically, create an opportunity out of a crisis. And that is the way to come out of this. So, how does one do it? Uh, well, if you really keep track of what is happening in and around us, a lot of companies will now look at multi country sourcing. Earlier, before this crisis happened, you could have had a company saying, okay, I will have 2 or 3 suppliers who can supply to me, and I will have no problem in continuing my business. But COVID has made people realize that we should have multi-country sourcing. That if one country there is a problem, you can have at least suppliers from other countries who will continue to supply your factories. The second thing, which is the big opportunity which is coming out, is the announcements which are being made by various countries. Japan, the government has already announced that it is going to fund companies. One is to shift back to Japan, but not everyone can go back to Japan in the sense they have to, of course, go to other countries, use other markets, everything. So they will fund companies, and the fund is fairly large. You're talking in the range of about $250 million for shifting out of China to other countries. Today, if you look at it, even today's Times of India talks about Korean companies who have started looking at India, and large steel manufacturers are now looking at India to set up a base. Companies from USA are also looking to shift to India and other countries. And this is, of course, moving away from that. A lot of the European countries, we have had discussions at very senior levels with people from these countries, and their response has been, ever since COVID started, they've not been getting the right kind of responses from China. I'm not going to get into too much of it. That is whatever they have between the various countries, let them do that. But over and above all this, is companies and countries are now saying that we will help you to get up a base in a country which is more friendly to us. So that really creates an opportunity. So really, one needs to go and make a big opportunity out of the crisis. And how does one go about and do this? One is to reach out to the companies in the world. One is that we have a lot of resources. Today we can be really happy that we have resources right from coal to iron ore to name it. We have those resources within our country. The second thing is, as I said in my first slide, we have a huge manpower base, 500 million people, and our manpower cost is very low. If you look at it, our average worker in a factory would be paid maybe 25,000 rupees a month or thereabouts. And if you look at Europe, the cost may be 200 euros a day. So we have a fairly large manpower cost advantage. Then, of course, technology. India has a lot of institutions and all that, which really send out a lot of technically qualified people. And Indians have themselves over the years developed a lot of technology. So overall, we can go to the world and say, we can be reliable suppliers to you, to your factory, and we will have ethical practices. The other advantage today is when you look at it, oil prices have dipped, and now it may be the right time to look at whether we can increase our manufacturing of basic chemicals and fine chemicals. And this will be required not only for international operations, but also for our pharmaceutical industry, where we may be manufacturing APIs, but we still need the basic chemicals which are required to manufacture these. So basically, it creates an opportunity that you will get either a customer within the country or you can get an international customer. So
10 minutes, Mr. Hazare.
yeah, so there is an opportunity which is there, and one needs to tap onto it. Say we need to, suppose we don't have the capability to manufacture a certain product. We can access technologies from research institutes within our country, or there are many European countries where they have research institutes who will be willing to share the technology. Maybe you will have to remunerate them as a one-time fee, or maybe give them a small percentage out of whatever you manufacture. Second thing is you can get into joint ventures with foreign companies, get them to invest in your companies also, so that if there is a liquidity problem which you have, basically it helps you with the foreign investment which comes in. And as long as the business becomes really large, whether you have given away a small percentage of your equity doesn't matter, as long as the size becomes bigger. If the cake is big enough, then there's a lot of people who can share it. The other thing is to look at long-term supply contracts. This is the time when people and companies will be willing to listen to you, because they also have a large amount of time on their hand. Because while this entire thing of restarting of businesses happen, people will be willing to listen to you, will look at saying this, yes, you have something to offer to us, we will listen to you. Now, this is as related to companies which are mid-size. The companies which are larger can even go out and buy family-owned companies in foreign countries. And there are many companies which are available even as of now, and there'll be many more which will come for succession planning. Because in Europe, the families are small and the owners may not have the second generation there to run these companies. So go out and buy these companies. The advantage of doing that is you will get a entity in a foreign country. You can rationalize the manufacturing, saying that I will manufacture some of the products in India, send it to those companies there, and I will then sell it as a made in Europe product. So you have a lot of cost advantages. Other way to do it is set up a subsidiary or something in a foreign country. You can have a base where you can have a warehouse and you can sell across Europe. So you will have the advantage of presenting yourself as a European company, available and reachable in their country. And so they will look at you as a serious player and will be more willing to do business with you. So over and all, there is an opportunity, and we are there to help you. The Indian Chamber of Commerce is there, are the other chambers. You talk to us as Intergest, and we can also help you do this. So I'm presenting you a big opportunity. We have the time and energy to think about the next actions, and do let us know if you need anything more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hazare.
And this is our service offering. So
I know it was really good.
It was really good.
So it was really good that you have given opportunity, the spectrum to all our listeners or viewers, and the ways you have pointed out are really very interesting. That, I mean, most of the people were thinking how to have a collaboration in India, but you have also told them that there are opportunities elsewhere where you can go and either acquire the companies or have a joint venture or have your distributors there so that you can have access to the world market. You have also pointed out what are the benefits India as a country will offer for the foreign investors. And I have always believed that today when India as a country is short of the money or funding, the foreign direct investment is a good way of funding the business here, because their money power is much stronger and much larger than us, and they can easily come and they can look at the weak currency like rupee, and where they don't feel that they are taking too much of a risk. And we as a country, we always offer them a large workforce, intelligent workforce, and innovative approaches towards the business. So thank you very much again. Now I will invite Dr. Vinod Chopra to take us forward. Over to you, Doctor.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Rajan Raje, and good morning to my MSME friends all across India. So my panelist friends have indeed displayed some exemplary expressions about the subject. This pandemic has come with this entire economy was already stressed with slow demand, suppressed investments due to ongoing global economic uncertainty in the shadows of the US-China trade war, which we are already aware. So this pandemic created an unprecedented impact on the entire world, since no one was prepared, because the world is not designed for a lockdown like this. So the Indian MSEs were equally or maybe highly impacted, with the sudden closures due to the lockdown. We have witnessed a demand shock because the demands went down considerably. We witnessed a supply shock because the manufacturing sector was closed and service sectors were also not operating to larger extent. And we, this time, for the first time in the history, we also witnessed an oil shock, wherein the futuristic tradings of oil went into negative because, again, of low demand. This oil shock may be good for India, but not for the world economy. If you witness history, there was a huge depression immediately after World War II. The standard thinking of the day at that time was that United States will sink into a very deeper depression after the war's end. And there was this great Nobel Prize winner, economist called Paul Samuelson. He wrote in 1943 that after World War II, he said, some 10 million men will be unemployed. And he further warned that it would be, I quote, the greatest period of unemployment and industrial dislocation the world economy has ever faced, I unquote. But actually what happened after World War II was dramatically different. The decade following World War II is fondly remembered today as a period of economic growth and cultural stability. In fact, all the futuristic predictions about unemployment by various economists, and including Paul Samuelson and other issues which they had said, proved to be miserably wrong. And the world witnessed a huge economical development and industrialization. So after this crisis, actually this is bottomed out. We don't have any option than opportunities. And we have to find, we are humans, we know we have invented computers. So we can't be now dominated by something which we have invented, even maybe this pandemic also invented by us. There is an economical and emotional backlash on China by the entire world. These developments have accelerated global firms' strategic plans to diversify manufacturing base away from China as a way of ensuring against supply chain disruptions, which nobody wants today. So Asian economic powers have begun to announce incentives, and even Europe and even US, to move their production out of China. Japan has earmarked 20% of their GDP to encourage manufacturers in form of subsidy to do that. So India's economic position today and the robust middle class provides already a very lucrative market. While we have abundant skilled and semi-skilled labor, adding to the country's ability to support bulk manufacturing, assembling, processing, and services. So India's further overlooking our entire aspect on the strategically placement of these manufacturing hubs. Where are they going to come? So that this will answer Mr. Vijay's question of land acquisition, labor laws, attitude of bureaucracy, and government of India's way of optimizing the supply chain and making the industry come here. So basically, what Mr. Hazare and Mr. Pawan and Nitin Podar and Mr. Rajan Naresh shared, one thing was in common, that India's cost advantage is its democratic fabric, transparency in rules based on international order, and India's willingness to meet its suppliers' obligations with fair trade. So, how can an Indian MSME capitalize on these advantages and opportunities? So, the government of India has planned to adopt a phased strategy. We had we have more than 10 or maybe 9 interactive sessions with the MSME ministry and various ministries, and about 6 with Mr. Nitin Gadkari directly. And yesterday we had 2 sessions back to back with him. I will come to the 12 o'clock session of yesterday, but now I will just say that about the session of Mr. Nitin Gadkari with the chambers yesterday had prompted that the government of India is planning to adopt a phased stage, a complete phased strategy, prioritizing several immediate, medium, and long-term components. Now, if we get down to the brass tacks, in the near term, the government may soon announce eye-catching schemes to invite companies to manufacture in India, maybe the coastal areas, to cut the cost of land transport, and traditional manufacturing clusters which we already have. To set the right tone, government plans to establish effective communication through business-friendly channels to convey easy availability of land in mega special economic zones (SEZs) and ready-to-move-in facilities. The sector-specific business-friendly regulations, a simple labor code, tax breaks, and other incentives aimed at bringing its manufacturing competitiveness on par with the most competitive destinations in Asia, which is Vietnam and maybe to a certain extent Thailand or Taiwan and Singapore, Malaysia. So the government has no option today. The government has come up with these regulations, and they are thinking very hard on that. The chambers all across the countries have given more than, I think, about 18 white paper. Even our chamber has given, and many other chambers around have given to the government, full of suggestions. Out of that, most of the suggestions were identified as common, and they were taken on a priority. So India should now aim at targeting the low-hanging fruits in the next 6 to 8 months. So winning major investment deals in sectors where the economy has already established a domestic supply chain. So moving up the value chain is far easier when there is an underlying ecosystem. So India, in the government's job here and the chamber's job here, which is an answer to Mr. Amit Parekh also, that what will be the role of local and national chamber. The chamber's job here will be to strengthen long-term commercial diplomacy along with the government, hand-holding with the MSME, with US, Japan, European community countries, and other countries which have established a very strong investment base in China's manufacturing complete setup. So now the question comes to everyone's mind, which I've been reading in the chat questions of Swanand Jahagirdar and Naba, asking about how India can make it, or about the labor laws and Singur issues, what Mr. Swanand has said. Can we accommodate industries? Of course we can. India is more vaster than even Vietnam or Bangladesh or other competitors. It is usually said that India reforms with a crisis. And look at 1991 with the balance of payment crisis. While the economy this time around is much better state, thanks to again the oil shock. So the government has a chance to leverage the changing geopolitical tide today to kickstart India's manufacturing and service sector, including construction. So it's time to emphasize for the government on its own policy, the Make in India policy, but this time with more focused support, because they lost the focus in between. So the chamber reminded them that they need more focused support to give rise to new industries and create millions of new jobs. Therein lies the hope for India. It is of course pertinent that MSMEs can have this exit strategy only if reasonable liquidity is injected into the system. So RBI has already announced about a moratorium, CRR reduction, and rescheduling of payments, ease of working capital. So SIDBI has also come with a scheme for 5% interest for fresh loans for MSME in some specific essential manufacturing. So simply expressed, a healthy financial backbone can support the lifeline of the MSME sector. But first thing is we need to identify maximum imports from China. So what are the maximum imports we do from China? And then we have to substitute that import. So there are certain things like mask has already started being produced in India. Earlier, nobody was producing masks. They were getting it from China. Today, the mask is being the existing factory. I have a friend who has a LED manufacturing factory, and instant overnight he converted his factory to mask manufacturing factory. So taking advantage of these things and taking advantage of our schemes for industrial and service sector and exports, we can go ahead in this. We will need to cut costs to become globally competitive, negotiate rents, salaries, and even this work from home can become an advantage in future to cut costs. Already part-time work. So I would like to share a screen about the latest launch. Yesterday when we had the launch ceremony with
Yeah, Doctor. Doctor, 10
uh,
minutes.
Yeah,
10 minutes.
yeah. So I would just share. Yeah, thanks. I would just share the screen of how and what is the launch yesterday which has happened. So we have this launch of MSME innovation. So this is the website which was launched yesterday at 12 o'clock by the Honorable Minister of MSME, and the chamber all were invited, and we had a real reasonable understanding about what is this. So here, this website is the Ministry of Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises, where they have, they have given a chance to all the people to put their views, ideas here, and we can share our ideas here. The sharing of ideas are open to public, and it will be open. It will not be patented, and no IRP will be issued here. They will be allowed to take these ideas and start their own business if those ideas are rated well. And in terms of the schemes, various schemes of the state government, here we have the various schemes of the state government mentioned here. If you go into Maharashtra, so we have Maharashtra's, you hear Maharashtra, you'll get a fair idea about what are the schemes existing in Maharashtra. They have also given details about schemes in terms of what skill development and employment in enterprise, entrepreneurship training center, and many other schemes. We also have a central scheme listed here. All the central schemes which are listed is mentioned here, including the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Finance, food processing, and all the schemes which are currently given and are applicable. So, say if we go with the Startup India scheme, so here in case of Startup India scheme, the promoting entrepreneurship amongst women, SC and ST category is there. There is a composite loan between 10 lakh to 1 crore for setting up new enterprise at 75% of the project cost. Repayable is 7 years with 18 months of moratorium. So these kinds of many things are available. We have many other websites which is also available on the site, which is msme.gov.in. And we also have the website which is my MSME, which you can we can go forward on that as well. So coming back to the entire idea is that I quote Dr. Daisaku Ikeda of Soka Gakkai, Japan always, which I quote. He says, we should cultivate a flexibility according to the environment. So friends, the environment is changing, and I'm sure the knowledge shared by our panelists has empowered all of us to tap our inherent potential to cultivate Indian MSMEs to expand or diversify to the best of their abilities, because this is how we are going to take this crisis and convert it into an opportunity by becoming the biggest manufacturing hub of not only Asia but the entire world. We have that potential. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. And thank you for sharing your views on how the MSME can take advantage of the government schemes. And also, it was nice that you shared the actual website, what Mr. Nitin Gadkari launched yesterday. I'm sure the MSME segment will definitely benefit from this scheme. And I personally like the idea that the government has started appreciating the innovativeness. They have started inviting for the ideas, and if this culture is changed, I think rather than a jugaad country, we can be an innovative country. So thank you once again. And now, Ratish, can you take over for some question and answer sessions? Yes, we have overshot our timing, but at least few questions, and the balance question can always be forwarded to the panelists. They will answer, and the chamber will forward the answers to the question raisers. So over to you, Ratish.
Of course, in the essence of time, I will not be able to put up all the questions that we received from the attendees, but I'll still give one question to each panel member to answer, and the other questions will be attended to on a one-on-one basis directly to them over the email. So the first question that I'm putting up to Mr. Nitin Poddar would be on this one. What steps have India taken to attract migrant companies to shift its base from China to India, with other smaller countries like Thailand and Vietnam also in the as competition? How much does India have to lose, or are we going to be too late if we're going to wait for it? Over to Mr.
Ratish, good question. And I must say that, it is not as if we have started doing now. And I have been saying this and on several forums also, that India, we are fortunate to have a prime minister like Narendra Modi. And globally, if you see, he is the only leader who have gone ahead for last 5-6 years in improving the ease of doing business number on the World Bank report. Uh, if you see, no other the country head has really worked so hard, or really made the country work on that. So it is not as if we have started now. We have been working for last almost 5-6 years now. And if you see the number that our on ease of doing business, our number was quite low, and today we are 63 or 65, and it's a very great improvement. So I would say India has already done a lot to attract foreign investment in India. And as my colleagues Vinayak, Pawan, and everybody mentioned, let's see couple of 2-3 things for India which is really attractive and which are natural, I would say. One is we have a very vast English speaking people in India. That's number one. Secondly, the demography, the young population is huge in India, and these are highly educated people. There's no dearth of engineers, IT people, marketing, MBAs. We have enough. And the third and the most attractive thing, which is really the I would say attraction for the global world, and that's the huge market that we have. We have a large middle class market. So all this taken together, and also as Mr. Rajay mentioned, that the SME and MSME in India are really very vibrant. We are open to any collaboration. We are open to modify. We are open to do whatever is required. So if you ask me, compared to the other part of the world, India is really poised to really attract foreign investment, and we have done enough. But all that, okay, but having said this, we should not be satisfied with what we have done. In fact, yesterday also I heard Prime Minister saying that he has appointed a task force, or he has told his ministers to reach out to the foreign countries and foreign companies, so that we don't fall short. We really are up there to help the foreign companies to come to India. Now, only one small point I'll say. The question will be for SME and MSME. What's the starting point? How do you really strike a collaboration? So my first and simplest advice will be, as soon as you get a foreign collaborator, or if you identify a foreign collaborator, all that you need to do is don't spend time in getting too much worried about it. First, capture the commercial points. Even if you are able to capture correct commercial points in a form of a letter or whatever, other things will fall in place. My request will be, first focus on the commercial points what we are trying to do. If you capture the commercial points, if you understand their products, market, and what you are providing, what they are providing, even if that is captured, rest of the things can be taken care of by the other consultants or other professionals in the country. But if you are in a hurry, great hurry, if you want to strike something quickly, just enter into a simple commercial letter capturing the correct commercial points between the two parties. I think that is more than sufficient.
Thank you. Here's another question which I feel, Mr. Vinayak Hazare, you'll be the right person to answer. There's someone who's having clients based out of US and Europe. Could the rise in unemployment in these markets impact their outsourcing plans?
Unemployment is likely to happen, but then it's again at what kind of cost. So obviously, if companies are looking at reducing their costs, then they will still like to outsource some part of it, because everyone today will look at cutting down costs. And if we use the cost arbitrage rightly, then there is always a position to do that. because whatever said and done, the cost of an employee in US is significantly higher than what would be the cost of outsourcing to India. And not only there is an employment cost, there's a social security cost, everything. And again, in Europe, it's like this. Today, you may be able to reduce manpower because of the COVID crisis. Otherwise, normally in Europe, to reduce manpower is not an easy thing. They have a lot of, you can say, benefits which need to be paid back to the employee and all that. So today, using COVID, if people have been able to reduce their workforce, then there is still an outsourcing ability which is there, which we can utilize. I hope I've addressed it in the right way.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Pawan Bendal, just a small question for you. What is the kind of funding that is available for setting up a manufacturing hub in India?
So I think if somebody is looking to start, so it's a different scenario when you're wanting working capital facilities or some credit for an existing operation versus you are trying to set up a completely new operation or a completely new project, right? So classically, bank will fund your working capital and ongoing requirements and to some extent some term loans. But you're setting up a greenfield, completely new manufacturing plant. I don't know the size and scale of what somebody's asking, but there would be various equity financing opportunities and there could be some debt financing opportunities. But within equity financing opportunities, for example, if the fund is in social, if the project is in the social sector, then there are opportunities available with various state governments having certain funds and schemes. For example, I mean, SIDBI supporting such social ventures through various schemes and programs. There are, if the project is very small, there could be microfinance kind of firms that could support it. If the project is somewhat larger and you have to classically look at typical equity venture capital, then clearly you have to approach the venture capitalists or the angel investors with your project plan, right? These would be difficult times, I would say, for somebody to raise fresh equity risk capital, because people who have already, who are running these institutions are currently just taking stock of their own existing portfolios and are going to make sure that their existing portfolios are safe and secure. So there is, for the next 3 to 6 months, difficulty in raising fresh funds for new manufacturing plants. But if your manufacturing is in areas which are going to see immediate huge demand, in the case of health, hygiene, those kind of products, then you may get both commercial lending available through banks or VCs, or you may actually approach such a socially driven government-backed organizations like SIDBI also for funding. So funding is going to be a challenge. So again, and if you're starting something new, I would advise that make sure that your business plan is pressure tested at least 3-4 times, approach some angel investors, get some feedback to make sure that you have a watertight plan before you go for the more serious discussions. Maybe Mr. Nitin can add something to it because he's in corporate advisory piece. So I'm sure he's got more advice to offer.
Funding is going to remain a problem, and I think that's the reason where, I'll just add a short, because I want others also to speak on this. See, the challenge with our SME and MSME is that my request, and this is my request going to be to everyone, please keep your balance sheets correct. Please keep your documentation, in place. Having a huge turnover but which doesn't reflect in the balance sheet doesn't make sense. If you go and what are you going to show to the bankers or to your foreign collaborators? So many times we try to be smart and try to avoid some small elements of taxation or otherwise, and don't show the turnover in the balance sheet. We just don't put that in our proper system. So my request will be two things. At least we can take it from here that, look, unless we are registered, unless we pay taxes, unless we are really into the system, how is the system going to help you? When we look at the government for help, the government is asking tomorrow, if the government tells you, look, show me your number of employees because we would like to pay some small money to them all. I'm sure many of the employees, many of the companies are not even registered their employees. So my request will be finances will be available to you only and only if your documentation is correct. If your balance sheets are properly audited, balance sheets are properly maintained, if you keep all your data correctly, see, as I said, the world will be driven by data.
I know, I agree, Mr.
I know,
Poddar,
I agree, Mr. Poddar, with
because I am an MSME, the stakeholder myself, and I have gone through this mindset for last 15 years. Because once upon a time, I had a Kachi partner with me, and nothing against the community, but typical psychology of some of the businessmen is, why pay taxes? I mean, I'm in the business to make money. I'm here to make profit for myself. And in that case, your balance sheet is always manipulated or cooked. You decide first that how much profit I have to show, and based on that, you work backwards. But once I change my partnership and I have a professional partner, I realized the importance of having a clean and a professional balance sheet. As and when I go to the bank, today I go to the bank with a lot of respect and lot of confidence. I tell the bank, hey, look, this is my balance sheet. This is what I'm making, and there is nothing cooked up. There is no number to eliminate in the balance sheet. And with that, the kind of support and the kind of respect I get from the bank or the NBFCs is enormous. Today, we are not afraid of going to the NBFCs for the additional funding. People believe that NBFC charge 18% and 19% interest, but people forget that the interest is on a reducing balance. So if you look at the simple rate of interest, many a time this interest is lesser than the interest charged by the bank. And that confidence is only because we know we are here to do a professional business. We are here to build up the capital and build up the company. And that mindset, I am requesting every MSME should have. That correction, Mr. Poddar has always been talking as and when we have a dialogue. He says that the biggest problem for the MSME today is the MSME is not professional. They are not financially respectful to the balance sheet. And if these changes are made, yes, the opportunity is enormous. The investment will come, the technology will come, and we can be a big manufacturing hub.
Thank you, Mr. Rajay. One last question that we're going to be taking. This one would be to Dr. Vinod Chopra. How will the MSMEs involved in exports be supported in terms of competitive pricing now that the world buyers are wanting to shift away from China?
So, in fact, what will happen is that first we need to understand that how do we compete in terms of the. So I have already in my talk already shared that first we need to identify what products are we talking about. So in the terms of the manufacturing already in India, we are already competitive for mostly 60% of the material with China. There are certain raw material which are exclusively available with China. That is always an issue that has to be sourced from some other place. For example, lithium cells or lithium batteries. We have lithium as one, but we have Puerto Rico and Brazil also as lithium mines. So we can also shift our source there. So there are many other ways, and the most important thing is cost cutting. Unless we come down to the cost cutting, the government of India is planning. Already repo rate has been reduced. There are few more expectations of interest rates to come down, lending rates to come down. So if these types of expenditures are brought down, Indian MSME has a big edge to cut down this cost and become more competitive or equally competitive. Secondly, a little difference of 1 or 2% wouldn't mind, because emotional backlash on China will help India to even charge 1% more of what the cost is, and there will be a little lesser competition in terms of Vietnam or Bangladesh per se, because India itself has a very big market. So as far as India's market is, the compensation of the export and part supply to India market will help bridge the gap and equalize the profit for both the sectors and make us more competitive into exports.
Thank you, Dr. Chopra. I think, with that, we will be ending the session. And I'd like to share a small screen for all those people who come in late. We'll be sharing the We'll be sharing the link to this particular webinar over the email to all of you. And in case you have any inquiries with regards to the ICC membership, you can always write into ashwini.gogare@indianchamber.net. With this, I would like to thank all my panelists for taking a time out and being here for this particular webinar. Your insights were really good, and we look forward to having more such sessions here in the future.
Thank you, Ritesh, and also thanks Ashwini, Mr. Rajay, everyone. Good, excellent.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The
Right,
chambers.
as,
Thank you, Ritesh.
Pawan here, there was a question by that they wanted contact details. So maybe for those of us that can share, we can maybe circulate the contact details with the attendees so that in case they need to get in touch, they can.
Yeah, best
The
still, I
chamber
would
will get
suggest all the contact details of the panelists should be shared. So if there are direct questions which they would like to send to us and like to know more, then it's easier to respond. And especially in this time when not everyone will be in office and all that, it'll be easier to then see that the interactions are faster. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.